find some way of navigating these tensions.
All right, sir, requesting you to stay on with us as we are in fact tracking some further updates. Air France has now announced that it will extend the suspension of its flights to Madagascar through Friday due to ongoing unrest in the country. The French airline has emphasized that the resumption of operations will depend on daily assessments of the situation on the ground. This decision comes amid escalating political turmoil in Madagascar, where President Rajoelina recently dissolved the National Assembly. This move was made to stop an oncoming opposition vote trying to remove him from office during protests which are underway. However, opposition leaders have condemned the dissolution and called it legally invalid, highlighting that they were not consulted on the president's decree. This, interestingly, is also taking place as Rajoelina is claiming that a coup is underway. An elite branch of Madagascar's military, CAPSAT, has now declared that it has control over the military, with some soldiers joining the protests as well. And there are also some claims that the opposition in the meantime is making that Rajoelina has fled the country. This is a claim that he has been denying. Interestingly, the opposition leaders are also claiming that it was a French aircraft that was used, in fact, to evacuate Rajoelina from Madagascar. This has now been denied by French President Emmanuel Macron as well. With us on the broadcast is Mr. Andrew Latham, Professor Andrew Latham. Interesting developments, a lot of fast-paced developments coming in from Madagascar. We've seen these protests had cropped up late last month, and since then they have completely escalated. They have exploded to such a point where Rajoelina now claims that there's been an assassination attempt against him as well. What do you make of what's happening on the ground and the claims that the opposition is making with regards to France?
Yeah, well, I think we can look at the French ending air traffic to Madagascar as kind of an early warning sign that things really are not going well on the ground there. Madagascar's airspace hasn't been closed. There hasn't been any kind of policy that's a blanket policy regarding all airlines. But the fact that this airline, which is an important airline for Madagascar, has said no more flights is really, the alarm bells ought to be going off around the world. Markets will be affected next. It's not clear how this is going to end up on the ground. Clearly, the forces, the anti-government forces are building, and the fact that they have co-opted perhaps elements of the military is an important sign as well. It may all fizzle out, but I rather suspect that we're on the verge of some momentous changes in Madagascar, and this pronouncement on the part of Air France is merely the first kind of warning bell for the broader global community.
And speaking of Madagascar in itself, if the coup that Rajoelina claims does take place, what sort of implications does it have for the people over there?
Well, in the short term, it's going to be more turmoil and more economic dislocation. In the medium to long term, perhaps a more stable government that's more democratically oriented will coalesce and crystallize. It's a very open-ended question at the moment, though. It's not clear exactly how these various disparate social forces will come together. If they do displace the current regime, what will come next? It may be much more democratic, maybe much more oriented towards free markets, maybe more oriented towards being part of the global community, but it may evolve in a quite different direction, which is not going to be to the benefit of the people of Madagascar.
All right, sir. With that, I would like to thank you for taking out time sharing your perspective on these very crucial developments with us. More news coming in from Europe. The European Union has hit